Check the clock at the top of the screen. 5 hours still to run, so just under a normal ILMC or next year World Endurance Championship race distance, and this one is still a race with Stuart Hall and Damien Faulkner with me. I'm John Hindhaugh. Simone Pagenaud is leading, but is due to come into the pit lane next time around. Benoit Treluet stayed in the Audi cockpit for a quad stint and was only 22 seconds back when he rejoined. That's very interesting indeed. Stefan Sarrazin is in third position for the number 8 Peugeot, but he's a lap off the lead. The number 7 of Alex Wurz is back out and on the track. Spent 12 minutes in the pits replacing a front suspension arm. The top wishbone had been broken when Alex went off at Indianapolis and clipped the tyre wall with the right front. Gentlemen, what can we say about this that we haven't already said in the preceding 19 hours? Damien Faulkner, we have got a race.
Fantastic, absolutely. It's shaping up to be a fantastic finish. It's really difficult to call. I see that Treluet spent 53 seconds in the pit lane that time, which is around about the norm for Peugeot, what we've seen from them, which is about normally 2 seconds slower than what Audi can really do. So I don't know what was going on there, but I don't understand why Peugeot are losing 2 seconds, at least 2 seconds every pit stop.
They just don't have that outright pace, Stuart, and we've seen when they have let someone like Ant Davison off the leash, then they can't get the 12 laps. So it's that very difficult decision that Olivier Canel and Bruno Fama on the pit wall for the French giants have to make.
I just think, you know, with the number 2, the 2 Audi, so far everything has gone to plan. Touch wood, nothing happens. I don't want to put the commentator's curse, but so far everything has gone to plan.
The last 10 minutes.
We need right to the end. We need this to be the closest Le Mans finish in history. It'll be fantastic. And you know, the pit stops have been great. The drivers have performed brilliantly, especially Benoit Treluet at this time. He's absolutely flying. You know, he's turning himself from a very, very quick sports car driver in one of the, you know, to elevating himself to, you know, one of the greats. He's driving brilliantly at the moment. Really, really impressive.
Pole sitter, of course.
Yep, exactly.
Do you know the last time? It's very unusual to win from pole, and I think there's only 4 drivers who put the car on pole and then won here. And from memory, it's Christensen, Ortelli, Derek Bell, and one other, and I can't remember that because I'm too old and it's too tired. But it was Christensen who did it the last time in 03, the Bentley year.
So 2 of them racing here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very unusual to be a pole sitting winner at Le Mans. Now, how is Pagenaud doing? He's on lap 273 now, and he's due in, I reckon, a 275. I'm trying to remember when it was that we had the leading cars genuinely on the lead lap at the end of the race, and I think we've got to go back a long, long way, probably back to 2004, when we had a very close finish then, if I remember rightly. It was the who was that now? That would be the Velox Audi R8 and brain's not working well. The CGR car, the Team Go car. That was the 2 Audis battling together. So we've got to go back a wee while since we had a close finish like that. But we've got one this year, and it's going to be an inter-marque battle.
And this is what we wanted, you know. There's been so much fuss about rules and regulations.
Yeah, forget all that. Let's go racing.
And you know what? That's stopped now.
Yeah.
We've got Audi versus Peugeot. We've got Pescarolo versus Rebellion.
Yeah, that's a good battle as well.
Two great fights, you know. This is something we haven't touched on, but the Pescarolo of Julien Juice and the Rebellion of Nicolas Prost, those guys have been fighting all race, just as close as the 2 Audis. So, you know, yes, those petrol cars might not be as quick as the Audis, but we've got a fantastic race in LMP1. It's probably the closest LMP1, like you say, Andy, we've seen for a long, long time, and I really do hope it continues to the end.
The thing is, it's not, Damien, just at the end of the race. It's not just come about that, oh, everybody's come together because somebody's come out of the pits. It's been like this for the last 19 and a half hours.
Yeah, I mean, it's tremendous. It's a fascinating race. Obviously dominated by the humongous crashes, yes, for Alan McNish and Mike Rockenfeller, but You know, it could have been even more epic had they not have had their shunts. And you know,
can you imagine if we had all
battle.
6 of them? All 6 of them, and it could have happened.
It's just so close, they're nip and tuck. You know, as you say, Audi just have a little bit more pace, and Peugeot have a little bit more economy. Fuel-wise.
Yeah, and that means it's the classic Le Mans conundrum. It's, you know, in motor racing, in most parts of motor racing, everything is a compromise. You can have more aerodynamic downforce, but it gives you more drag. You know, you can have more camber on the front wheels, but you wear your tyres out quicker. You can drive closer to the guy in front, but you don't get your wings to work. Everything has got an upside and a downside here.
So it's balance,
as we've got a puncture on the number 10 Audi that's just come into the number 10 Peugeot that's just come in the pit lane. And that is another right rear puncture, of which there have been legion this weekend. And that was Loic Duval, who did a pretty good job of getting that Orica Matmut Peugeot in the pit lane.
It's funny actually, probably testament to Michelin, the way these tires are disintegrating, because they're not cutting the carcass. It's just the tire walls that are coming away, which saves the bodywork, because that's invariably what happens when you get a puncture and the driver drives too fast, and then it flaps up and it slaps the hell out of the bodywork, and the next thing you have to replace half the car.
Stuart, you gave a fabulous insight yesterday, last year, another lifetime ago, into, you know, how difficult it is to know what to do, particularly in the early part of the stint when your tyres aren't up to temps and pressure, and why you often get sidewall punctures here.
And then, no, what I was just saying yesterday, we'll touch on it again, that when you go out, you set the tyre pressure slightly lower, because when the tyres get hotter, the pressure obviously increases. When the tyre pressure is lower, the tyre obviously squidges a little bit more. There's basically, the air hasn't expanded yet. And so when you go over a curb, which are generally quite sharp, the tyre can pinch and cut on the curb, and therefore you'll cut the tyre and you'll cause a puncture. And we saw yesterday at the start of many stints, it was mainly the GT cars, I might add, that 1 or 2 laps into the stints they were getting punctures. Could it have been that these guys were going out, they were pushing really hard on their outlap, smashing the curbs and tearing a tyre sidewall or something like that? You don't know, but it's just maybe another area to throw in.
Yeah, that was something actually in the Super Cup that we were always really warned to avoid, was when the pressures are low, like you say, Stuart, sometimes actually the sidewall can come away from the rim, and it can actually deflate that way without actually picking up a puncture. But I guess that for the longer stints here, the tyre pressures, as you rightly said, are set very low.
Let's not forget the other classes. We mentioned the petrol cars running down the field, of which this is one, the 16, the Pescarolo, based right here at Le Mans. Pescarolo himself, Grand Pesca.
Great to see him back, isn't it?
Yeah. It's funny actually, when we were down in the Place de Jacobin doing scrutineering at the early part of the week, Sunday I think it was, Jim Rowland, my colleague, on the radio, went up to him and said, "Great to see you back, Henri. You know, fabulous to have the team back in your name." And he did a few questions. He said, "Of course, last year you were still here, but you were working in the TV booth. Was that the lowest point of your career?" And I was nudging him, saying, "Thanks. Nice to know you think so much of everybody who goes broadcasting." And Pascal was like, "Oh yes, it was the worst time for me." But the thing is, he's a very well-liked character. Oh, that's called doing a Christensen there. He's a very well-liked character, and you know, knowing we get the interactivity from the fans on the forum and the emails, and we know that everybody likes him, and he maintains. I thought it was very classy by Eurosport last year when they found out that he was talking about not coming here. I saw him at the test day, and he said, "I'm not coming. If I'm not involved in the race, I'm not coming." And the story obviously was picked up by the French press, who talked to him and offered him a job to come here, and I thought that was really classy, to keep his unbroken run of being at the race and working in some capacity. But by God, he's happier he's doing what he's doing this year than what he was doing last year. Peugeot in the pits, Demo.
Yeah, I was just to follow up on that. I couldn't believe the popularity of the man when I was walking on the pits the other day, out on the start line. They were nearly coming over the fence to cheering for him.
That's the lead car coming in.
Is that 275 on that screen over there?
Yeah, 275. Peugeot pits.
It's another 12-lap stint.
Swapping to Sebastian Bourdais.
Right. Okay.
You must have come across Sebastian Bourdais.
You drive against him in lights?
No, he didn't do
sure?
Indy Lights.
Dougal?
We'll have to ask Declan Brennan, won't we?
He'll know.
Dex, are you listening? No, I've come across Sebastian, yeah, I think in some of the ALMS races, or maybe even somewhere, but I'm not sure that I've competed with him.
He's trying to make a comeback, of course, back in open wheel racing in the States at the moment. Hasn't had all his own way. Had an incredible run of victories in Champ Car, IndyCar, as was.
He was the Champ Car king, wasn't he, for like 4 or 5 years?
I think he won a 5 in a row, didn't he?
Yeah, it was amazing.
So, Trelliway's already gone through. Oh, no.
Wow.
Now, you see,
Stuart.
if...
What was that?
I've got to tell you, if Ulrich sees that, he's going to get slapped around his lugs when he gets out. In fairness, he's in the middle of a quad stint. He will be getting out of that car at 2:83 laps time. So, Bourdais is out. So he should be stopping again at 75.87.
The other Peugeot in. Simon Pagenaud is getting out. No, was that Pagenaud getting out?
I think that was Pedro
Lamy
getting in.
Now that's interesting.
It was a number 8 car. Sarrazin was getting out, maybe.
Yeah.
And getting in would be, you've got the list.
Frank Montagny.
Frank Montagny.
Yeah. Well, Frank's no slouch either. Another man that I've seen in the American Le Mans Series.
I've competed with Frank, actually.
Yeah.
Way back when.
In the day.
Montagny
In the
now,
day,
cities.
when there was no seat belts. That was World Series by Nissan, I think, in 02, when he was teammate to Justin Wilson.
Really?
Yeah.
I forgot
I just had a couple of one-off drives with a very underfunded team. I was very grateful of them to give me the drive.
Let's continue looking at the rest of the classes as that Peugeot pulls out, because Karim Ogier still leads in what I still think is probably the oldest chassis in the race, the 41 Greaves Motorsport car with the new Nissan engine.
But it's a new Coscat car. It can't be old.
It's 2007 chassis. It's still got the same chassis plate here. Lawrence Tomlinson tells me that was the car they were on pole position at with Tom Kimber-Smith at Silverstone when Tom put the time in. He's ahead of Sohail Ayari, who's turning some fabulous times. Just got in that car, taken over from Luca Ordonez. He's got laps to make up there, but again, even the laps between them are only, he's just under 3 laps behind. He's about 2.5 laps behind. So that's 10 minutes behind, effectively, if you look at it that way. Christophe Bouchou in the 33 Level 5 Motorsport, the Scott Tucker team, in 3rd position in GTE Pro. Fisichella from Garcia. Laps between. Mark Lieb lurking in 3rd place for Porsche. Ferrari, Corvette, Porsche, BMW in the top 4 in the pro class. In the amateur class, nobody seems to want to win this. Every time someone gets somewhere near the top, they fall out, throw it at the scenery, or otherwise ruin their chances.
Like the Premiership?
Yeah, would be, yeah. But the Labre competition car is still in the lead of that class.
We just saw a great shot of Benoit Trillet going through the Ford chicane. Just cut the whole chicane in half. No regard for any baguettes or anything like to stop you cutting the chicane. You know, that guy is pushing so hard. He's got the message from Dr. Ulrich: you push, we either win or we don't. You know, they've got one car left. It's all the eggs in one basket. I think the way he was pushing, he's under strict orders to go all out.
Basically, it is, you know what, or get off the pot, if you like.
He wants that watch.
He does. Black-faced Rolex, who wouldn't? Thank you. The Michelin Green X Challenge, which, remember, as far as the ILMC this year, the winner gets an automatic entry to Le Mans next year, an automatic invite to Le Mans. Let's use the right terms. It's the 7 Peugeot from the 9 Peugeot at the moment. It's a tremendously complicated index of thermal efficiency-like set of equations. They did explain it to me once, and after I'd come back from the 2-week residential course, I was still none the right wiser, to be honest, but just amazing.
So on board now with Benoit Trillet, coming up to the 2nd chicane. Oh, we're not on board anymore, we're on board with the helicopter. But second chicane, much quicker than the first chicane. You brake much later and carry much more speed through. I think at some point we're going to go down and have a word with Simon Pagenaud in a minute, but that's been going on in our ears for a while, so who knows. Oh no, we're going to go down right now. Let's hear from Simon.
Simon Pagenaud, a tough battle you had with your former teammate out there. How exciting is it to race a Le Mans like that?
It's a lot of fun. It's you know, you're out there and you're thinking, okay, I got to do my in-lap perfect, my out-lap perfect. It's like a Formula One race, but we've been racing for a little bit less than 24 hours, so it's tough, man. I mean, I'm tired. I've pushed like there were no tomorrow, and I still have to push till the end because we believe we can win, and we're going to do everything we can to try to get it.
The Audis are doing 10 laps per stint. Is that maybe your advantage at the end?
Yeah, I mean, we're a little bit slower. I mean, can't hide the pace, but we've got that advantage. The fuel consumption is good, so hopefully we get that in our hands. We'll see at the end.
How is the schedule for you now? Are you going back into the car, or are you going to sleep until the podium?
I don't know yet, but I don't think I can sleep anymore now.
Okay,
I did notice when we saw the backroad boys in the Peugeot garage that they had the Andy Blackmore spotters guide taped up as we take here in the studio. The genius that is Andy Blackmore, getting I think before the race he was telling me on Thursday there had been 40,000 downloads worldwide of the spotters guide.
Wow.
So
I'm one of those.
you. Yeah, me too. Several of them. In fact,
you,
they're
Andy.
all over the place around here. And
We just saw a shot of Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich there, sitting down for once.
If he hasn't had enough grey hairs, he's had a few more today, hasn't he?
Absolutely.
So
But
the gap
hopefully-
now. Sorry, Stuart. Go on.
No, I'm just saying. Hopefully, it's all gonna come good for them in the end. You know, do you know what? I would genuinely really love to see this #2 Audi win it. You know, it's been really tough for the team with the two huge accidents. We all had our hearts in our mouth both times. It would just be a fitting end for the #2 car to come home and win.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Yeah.
The last time Treluer was out in front of the Audi, in the Audi in front of the Peugeot, after the Peugeot had come out of the pit stop, it was 16 seconds the gap, and I think I've just seen something that said 54 seconds, so I'll keep an eye on that. Meantime, Anthony Davison is aboard the 4th place Peugeot. He is a couple of laps, 1 3/4 laps off the lead as it stands at the moment. That means the affable Austrian, a tall guy who now lives just around the corner from Alain Macnish in Monaco, is out of the car. So we'll have an opportunity to talk to him in just a moment, just trying to keep an eye on the other categories.
The Lotus, I think Lotus should deserve a mention.
Jonathan Hershey.
Jonathan, that car is as new as the AMR1 was, and very nearly didn't make this make this race. Everything's new, and the #1 car of Jonathan Hershey, Johnny Molam and James Rossiter is still going, and it's 7th in class, which I think is fantastic. Testimony to Lotus, testimony to Jet Alliance, testimony to those drivers.
Lotus, I mean, big plans for Lotus as a brand, and when we were interviewing Danny Bear, the racing car show, well, year gone January, and he told us what plans he had, we sort of went, yeah, nod and smile. IndyCar engines, yeah, IndyCar program, IndyCar engine, sports car, Le Mans, and this and that. Okay, fine. But you know what? They've ticked every one, Stuart. And they have delivered exactly what they said they would. Now, that car clearly still needs some development, and the Toyota-based V6 engine that Cosworth are working on at the moment needs to have a little bit more power. But talking to JMO early in the week, they were given a big weight brake, 50 kilos. They were given a big restricted brake. But they, I think very sensibly, decided not to use all that restricted brake to produce more power. They decided to take their engine rev limiter down a bit and tune it for torque. Now, how sensible is that round here?
Especially with a new car, just take the stress off it just a little bit. I mean, for them to finish in 7th place in GTE.
Well, the way GTE's been going, you wouldn't bet them getting the top 5.
Top 5, top 6, top 4. I mean, you know, you speak to Johnny and James before the race, and they're both really upbeat about him. And you sort of think, well, you know, guys, I think you're being a tad optimistic. Well, you know, so far we've been proved wrong. And even if something happened now, they've proved that they are really in this for the long haul, and that car's going to be very good very soon. They both say that how good the chassis is, how late they can brake, how much corner speed they can take, but they just say they just need to squeeze a little bit more power out of that engine. Now's not the time to be experimenting. As you said, you know, just turn it down, get to the finish. Hopefully you have a good result, and then they can build on that, get some good press, maybe get a bit more money over from Proton because of it, and develop the car even more.
For those of you coming back to us in the early morning hours, who perhaps the last time you were with us was when we were under yellow flag conditions with Rocky rather. Well, Rocky is okay. He's obviously very heavily shaken, as was Alan McNish. He may be back at the circuit this afternoon. He's been down to the local hospital and was kept in for a wee while. But Dr. Ulrich telling us earlier on they didn't expect any ill effects from either of those big crashes to the drivers. I expect we'll have a chat with McNish. We've already had an interview with him on the radio. We'll try and get him over here for Eurosport as well when he comes back to the track. But I think you might understand he's spending time with his wife Kelly at the moment.
Nissan GT Academy presents Lucas Ordonez, from video games to Le Mans 24 hours.
Just under 3 hours and 40 minutes to go. Damien Faulkner is about to take his leave from us. Have you enjoyed as we've got the 66 car in trouble? Coming even in just a moment. This is the Rob Bell Ferrari. It's got Xavier Masson at the wheel. It's been a really, really difficult run for the BMW Dunlop Ferrari. And that car has had clutch problems for quite some time, and it looks like he's got a drive problem there. Damien, have you enjoyed your Eurosport debut and your first time working at Le Mans?
It's been fantastic. Fantastic. Thanks to Eurosport for having me here. It's been really, you know, uplifting experience to be up here in the booth and to be watching it all on the screens here and the monitors. I have to go now, unfortunately. I'm running the Dublin Marathon this evening.
Are you really?
No.
All right. When do I next see you race?
In Lime Rock in 3 weeks' time.
I'll see you there.
For Black Swan Racing, Tim Pappas and I.
You've got a 100% record with them at the moment.
Yeah, one race.
You've got a 100% record with them. The stats is, you know, only as good as you left last race.
Don't knock it, Damien.
Exactly.
But we'll still hear plenty of you on Eurosport, of course, during the year.
Well, hopefully.
Hopefully, you and Martin doing Super Cup and stuff as usual.
I await to hear.
If they invite you back after this weekend.
Yeah, that's true. No, I've enjoyed the experience. It's been a blast. I'm just looking forward now to getting back to the LMS and some racing, and really pumped up to get back here to compete maybe next year. If not, maybe sure I'll be up here.
And while we're having a beer in Le Mans tonight, you'll be back home in County Donegal.
I will. Yeah, I'll be in Dublin anyway.
In Dublin, yeah. Okay.
I have a train to catch now, so
we'll have a beer for us in Dublin. A Guinness for us in Dublin.
I will do. Where it tastes best.
Damien, well done. Thank you very much.
You've been a
great asset to our team here.
Cheers, mate.
Well done.
See you in a couple of weeks. Lime Rock couldn't get any more different to what we've been watching here, Mark. Could you? 1.2 miles.
What, the wide open spaces of
the
Lime Rock?
wide open spaces, yes, that prairie that is Lime Rock Park in Connecticut. So, Mark, are you back refreshed, feeling better?
Yes, I had a quick breakfast at Audi, had a quick chat with Martin Pass there, and Rocky will not be coming back to the track. He is very bruised and he's got a cut arm, and they've told him he's to go home when he feels up to it, not to come back here. But as you say, Alan McNish is back at the track and been doing selected interviews. I have to say, John, while I was over there, picked up L'Equipe, which those of you who know your French newspapers, it's the French Sporting Daily. L'Equipe Dimanche normally is all football or basketball or tennis at this time of year. None of it, of course. There's the picture of Alan's Audi flying over the barriers at Dunlop, and the headline says "in fear of their lives," with all the spectators looking on, and how thankful everybody is that there was no repeat of that 1955 Le Mans disaster. But Audi very bullish about their lead car, Benoit Trullier, and like us, I think that they're saying that Andre Lotterer is probably going to be the architect of this victory from the driver's seat.
Yeah, agree. I'm just listening to some news coming up from the pits that Xavier Masson is shouting excitedly into his headset at the moment. The team are trying to calm him down and tell him to speak normally because he's overloading the microphone. They think it might actually only be fuel on the 66 GMW Ferrari, but as I said, that car had a clutch problem earlier on when Rob Bell was driving it, and they were having to have a bit of a workaround. But it is in the pit lane now, and I'm guessing maybe using starter motor power. But that won't get it all the way back, I don't think. Just got to get across the line. In comes the Oak Racing Pescarolo BMW. Shinji Nakano, the only Japanese driver in the race this year. As we come up on 4.5 hours still to go, with 30 cars out of the original 56 still going.
I can't see any sign of Xavier Masson.
There he is. He's in the pit lane.
Oh, he's there, right. I was looking out the window.
Now he's got that going, so that might well have been... well, he's across the line.
Do you reckon he's still shouting?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, good man.
Excitedly.
Yeah, good man.
Here come the Belgians.
A little bit of fire.
Yeah.
Belgians on fire, that's a sight, isn't it? Yeah.
Isn't that a progressive rock album back in the 1970s? Sounds like it should be.
Ben Collins has just set the fastest sector for his car in the entire race on this lap. He's done a 35.2. The Stig coming back to Le Mans. So I wonder what this lap will be. There are a good few laps there.
Former Stig. It's Phil King now, isn't it?
Phil King, I wouldn't know. It could be Phil King, could be Anthony Davison, couldn't it?
It's not Anthony Davison.
Alex Woods, tell us what happened down there when you went off.
Yeah, I went around Indianapolis, and then I had a moment where I just ran out of talent. I was pushing a bit hard at the time, and I knew what I was doing, and I put 50 centimeters offline. There was dirt, and I slipped off entirely. My mistake. My first driving mistake since 2008, which I'm not happy about.
When you have a race close like that, where you have to push to the limit, how difficult is it to stay on the limit and not go over it for the whole 24 hours? It's almost impossible, I think.
Yeah, it's possible. We've done it before. Again, since 2008, I didn't do any mistake where I went off the track. So clearly you can do it, but today was not this day, and I made a mistake, and that's it. I have to live with that. That's life, and tell a bit.
You guys are now a couple of laps down. What role is your car playing in the mix up there for the top four now?
I haven't properly looked at the race configuration now. We are 4 laps down, so I think we're definitely out of looking at the win unless something a miracle happens. Now I'm gonna sit and watch the fight on the top because it's quite an epic fight.
Thank you very much.
There you go, Alexander Wirtz there. Just goes to show a man of his experience, and he's just held his hands up and went, sorry guys, I was pushing, I made a mistake. You know, it's refreshing to see a driver just say, look, it's my fault, because there's so many guys have so many excuses, don't they?
We have got some good news from the hospital at Le Mans, a game where we've been taking a lot of people this weekend. Horst Falbermeyer Sr. has got some concussion after that huge accident with Jan Magnussen we saw earlier, but nothing worse than that. It'll take more than that to keep Horst Sr. down. We know he's been racing along. 66 years old, oldest man in the race here this weekend. They deserve better than that, didn't they? Anyway, while I've been away, has there been any news from Corvette about what happened with Jan? Or?
Oh, Jan had an accident.
Yeah, why?
He binned it. He was coming out of the...
I saw it, but any news on what happened?
Yeah, he banged the curb on the inside and lost control of the car.
As simple as that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we were surmising it might have been a car problem at that stage.
No,
but
he hit the curb on the inside, lost control of the car, trying to get around the inside of the Porsche.
Right.
And it just snapped on him. Whether something broke, I guess we'll never know really, but you could see the dirt getting kicked up from the inside, the left-hand side of the curb. That's quite unusual there though, Stuart, because that is a curb that you normally use there, that inside curb, particularly in a GT car with a little bit more compliant suspension.
If the car's loaded up, you should, in theory, be able to use it, because it shouldn't make much difference to the car. When the car's loaded up, it should go over.
Xavier Masson having trouble getting that car away. He's made 2 or 3 attempts. He's got it going now, but again, it comes down to the clutch, as you said, John. Yeah, good point. So, as you say, we are 26 cars out of the race now, out of the 56 we started with, and looking at P2, it's still Karim OJ out front. for the Team Greaves Motorsport car. What a fairy story this will be if they can get that to the finish. One of my lasting impressions of Le Mans was 4 or 5 years ago, Karim Oj spinning coming out of the final corner here, and he sat there on the pit wall with his head in his hands, and he couldn't even go back to the team. He was so distraught. They've been leading the class at that time, but it's come back to him again this year. So Karim, keep it between the white lines.
Ben Collins, I just mentioned a while ago that he'd done his quickest first sector. That car's quickest lap of the race before the last lap was a 3:48, and Ben Collins has just done a 3:45. Where on earth that's gone from, I don't know. But if they can run that pace now, why couldn't they run it earlier?
They've done a couple of turbos, of course. They've changed a couple of turbos during the course of the race. Whether that was a pair, because it is a twin turbocharged engine, or one twice, I'm not entirely certain. One of them was quite early, and one thing about Phil Barker and the fabulous Barker boys is they'll never give up. I've often thought sometimes when they're not having a good year, it would have been easier for them to pack up and go home, but there's never a thought of that from those guys. They really do have the endurance spirit, and it's brought them back up in, let's be honest, up in the 5th position, Mark.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. They're still stuck there amongst the lead GT pros, but that'll change quite soon if he keeps that pace up. 3:45, as you said there, Stuart. Here's the Oak car, the 49 car, came crawling round. That's the car that we mentioned about Shinji Nakano being in. Nicolas de Crème was at the wheel, and they've got it back to the pits. That's the first thing. And
there's a car that's in front of the RML D group car, Mark. We were wondering at the start of the race, all of these P2 cars are running at least 100 kilos heavier than they were ever designed to. They've got engines that are less powerful than they used to be. People are having to drive them very much harder. It follows then that the reliability of these cars might have been suspect, and as yet they've actually not been as bad as what everybody expected. And I'm still wondering, with 4.5 hours to go, if there's not some cruel hand of fate to be played in the P2 category. Because I reckon if you're out there at the end, you're in with a half-decent chance of getting a result. Yeah, it has come that way again, hasn't it? But it didn't happen last year, but did the year before, where we had, I think, only 2 P2s finished. It was probably one of their lowest years, but it is gradually coming back. But, Stuart, one of the big problems they've got again this year, they've got basically GT2 engines in those cars, and they're really struggling to get past the quicker GT cars, aren't they? They have to wait till braking zones.
And what it is doing is the P2 cars have been slowed down, and as you say, Mark, they've got very similar engines to GT2 cars now, which is making them very similar in straight line speed to a GT2 car. Normally a prototype would be able to pass a GT car in a straight line, therefore without much risk. Now, especially the LMP2 cars, they're having to pass these GT2 cars in the braking zone, which is creating more risk, and obviously more accidents are happening because of it. And ironically, of course, that's the place that they have the least advantage over the cars, because as they're slowing down, they're bleeding off the big advantage, which is the downforce. Yeah, and then basically at high speed, the P2 car has an enormous advantage. The minute you've got the speed off, the downforce is gone. Generally in a slower corner, the traction, etc., on some of these GT cars are better than especially on a Porsche with the engine overhanging the rear wheels, is better than some of the prototypes. So it does make it very difficult indeed.
And there is our GT2 leader, the third car in this group. That is Giancarlo Fisichella on board now, the man who's made this incredible transition from Formula One into GT and has become one of the stars now of Le Mans. And what he's trying to do there, Mark, is put another lap on Antonio Garcia in the yellow and black Chevy Corvette that is just ahead of him. And so this is quite an interesting battle with I'm glad to see the Lizard back out there after that injector problem early on. They found it very quickly, thought they'd lost a cylinder earlier on, but found it was an electrical problem, just changed the injector wire on cylinder number 1. And the Corvette can't even get by the Lizard at the moment, so this is a great little battle here, isn't it? And that's letting just right behind them. Who's in the 4th car there? That's the surviving Felbermar car. So not making life. That'll be Richard Leite, is it?
So you've got Lucas Law, Antonio Garcia, Giancarlo Fisichella, and Richard Leite. That's not bad training.
No talent there at all, is there?
all factory drivers battling it out around here. They may not all be on the same lap, but they're putting on a great show for us. Yeah, you wouldn't have any of them in your team, would you? No. And there you see, that's important that Garcia has just got past the Flying Lizard Porsche. The Troy Lee designed super special paint schemes on the 2 Lizard cars this weekend, commemorating the 16 overall victories of Porsche here at Le Mans, and every single driver has their name
and their flag of nation on each of the Flying Lizards. And Stefano Telli was the first one to go down there to have a look at it, loved it, signed his name on the flag, and I think there's been a steady stream of former Porsche drivers down there to sign the bodywork, which is really nice. I don't know if you've seen that up close, Stuart, but the cars have actually been painted in those candy colours of orange as we're watching, in the blue one, which sadly is stranded out in the circuit, and then they overlaid the decals and then lacquered over the top of it. Looks fabulous.
Right, we're looking down the pit lane. The number 2 Audi pit is waiting now for
should be
Benoit
coming in
Trullier.
on 283.
Yeah, they're all
283.
They're all out there, and we're told it's going to be a full Monty pit stop, driver change, tyres, everything.
Trellier's done a quad stint.
Yeah.
We haven't seen anybody do 5 stints. Very, very impressive. Oh, hang on a second. This was a quad stint, and he's done brilliantly out there, has Trellier, and he's not getting out, and they're not changing tyres. They're not going to change tyres, guys. They're going to send this, because if they were going to change tyres, they might as well change drivers as well. This is the first quintuple stint, and Trellier goes back out. Unbelievable. 5 stints in the car. Now, this is McNish-like. Remember, McNish did 4 laps, and there's the Peugeot just going through. That is Bourdais just going through. That is unbelievable. He's almost held on to the lead, and he's putting a 5th set. He's putting a 5th run on those Michelin tyres. Davidson, the only Peugeot driver who's been able to do a 4 stint, and that was on the option set of tyres during the night. Their daytime tyres cannot do quad stints, and that is 30 seconds saved in the pit lane, and that is a massive development, Stuart.
It is unbelievable, Benoit Trullier. He's been making waves this whole stint, and we all thought it was going to come in full service, get out, Lotterer get in, but no, he's stayed in.
Look at his in-lap. He did a 37.8 on his in-lap.
Now, of course, a lot of this tyre saving is down to these huge front tyres they now run on these cars. They're higher, and they have found that they get a lot more out of the front.
You've got to be careful with them, Mark.
Oh, yes.
You can't push them. Now we know why he wasn't getting the same speed as he was earlier on. He was at 3/4 of a second to a second slower throughout the whole throughout the whole stint. But he saved 30 seconds in the pits.
Bourdais is due a pit stop in the near future, isn't he? He's on 22 stops to Trellier's 25.
What lap was he on, Mark?
283. Bourdais is 284 now. He's on lap 284.
87 he'll be in.
Yeah, so in 3 laps time.
If he does 12 laps.
And Trellier will take a massive lead then when Bourdais goes in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very interesting to see what times Benoit Trullier is going to do now, because it's a brave call to do 5 stints on the same set of tyres.
But they will have asked him as well if he feels all right.
Yeah. No, they would have done, and you know, I hope he can go out there and do another 3:30, 3:29. It'd be fantastic. What a stint he's done.
I mean, these tanks are smaller, so the stints are a lot shorter, but this is, you know, I remember McNish, 2 years ago, doing sort of 3.5 hours, nearly 3 3/4 hours in a prototype, and that's you know, in a GT car, that's hard enough, and there was no yellow flags. This is an Ironman stint from Trellier.
I know. Benoit Trullier is doing an absolutely fantastic job, and we've still got 4 hours to go, but I've been glued to this race since it started, you know, and it hasn't got any worse. It's just absolutely fantastic.
But of course, there's no point in watching endurance racing because it's not exciting.
Apparently so.
Yeah, we've just had some news, by the way, from the pits about that Rob Bell car, the Dunlop car that Xavier Masson stopped. He was out of fuel.
Yes, and compounded by the fact he had no clutch.
Yeah, but that's why he stopped outside.
Yeah.
He managed to get the car in. They fueled him up and sent him out. But as we saw, had difficulty getting away. But they will get that car hopefully to the end, clutch or no clutch.
Yeah, I think they've done a great job with that. Now, Davidson in the pit lane as we're watching Trellier. In fact, he's already heading down pit lane now. This is it. They've slapped Davidson around and said, right, go for it. And at the moment, 12 laps, 10 laps or 11 laps for Peugeot. It's all about lap times now, and they've got to make up some time. Davidson is well back. They can just let him loose. because he's got laps to make up. As through comes the lead Audi, the remaining Audi, should I say, just negotiating the 33 Christophe Bouchou driven machine. In third place, of course, in P2. That's a good run for Scott Tucker, who's had results at the Rolex 24 at Daytona. Oh my goodness me, that looks like another puncture for the number 10 car with
well spotted, John.
Nicolas Lapierre going down through the Old Forest S's. And here is the Peugeot, here's the Audi, excuse me, going past the 33.
Yeah, that's the...
Can't say enough about
level
Treluet.
5.
I thought this race had given us everything we could have wanted in terms of drama and certainly, you know, accident and incident. But this is a massive call by the guys on the pit wall. Who makes the call then, Stuart? Is it the driver and the engineer? Obviously, the Michelin tyre man's got to get involved.
I think ultimately it's going to come down to Benoit. How are you feeling, Benoit? How are the tyres? Have you got another one in you? And he's probably so fired up now. Yes, let's go.
If he's in his comfort zone, then don't change it. There we are.
Up racing.
Yeah, well spotted.
They've had a nightmare, this 35 car. It's been in and out of the box. He's got a left rear puncture now.
Pierre Lafargue on board.
Oh no, this is the IMSA performance car.
Raymond Naraka on board. He's the one who had the accident Wednesday night.
Oh my goodness. Now again,
they've had a bit of a torrid time, haven't they?
Yeah.
Just drag it to the nearest hard standing, get him back into the race.
That's Tete Rouge there, I think.
So there's the gap between race leader and second place.
But the great thing for Treluet, hit Mark, is he doesn't have to push super hard. Oh well, that wasn't a puncture for the other Peugeot, by the way. It was just a nasty wobble. Doesn't have to push too hard, Treluet. He's just got to keep that leading Peugeot in sight, because he's coming in shortly. Treluet not getting anywhere near his limit, Paul Truswell says on Radio Le Mans, so he's going to be 3 something, which is an Ironman stint, but there's not going to be a problem. We did see Alex Premat within nearly 2 minutes of him getting the car disqualified, of course, if you go over 4 hours straight through. A quintuple stint.
Amazing.
For Treluet.
And what's great about this, we've got 20 hours to go. He's been up since yesterday morning, probably, and he's still going and he's still pushing hard, and he's on the best part of 3 and a bit hours.
That's why John and I aren't drivers.
It is fantastic to watch. I keep saying it. It's probably getting repetitive, but you know, this is what sports car racing all about. Le Mans 2011 is a real cracker.
It's had everything, hasn't it? This how do you cut the DVD for this down into 90 minutes, eh?
I think they'll need 2 discs.
I feel sorry for poor Chris Tate and David Addison, who do the voices for the DVD.
So Benny the Frog coming out of the Porsche curves.
Let's see what his first flying lap is. Big indication of how those tyres have held up.
Here it comes.
Bourdais 332.
Expected.
331.
31.
Full tanks and 5 steel door tyres, including coming out the pit lane.
No. That's his first flying lap.
All right, okay. Right, okay.
So we'll expect Bourdais to come in at the end of this lap, won't we? So there is Treluet pushing on then over the Dunlop.
87,
down the hill into what no doubt is going to be renamed Scotch Corner.
But but what I can think about, which driver's in after Treluet? Is it Lotterer? I think Fassler was in before Treluet, and then I think Lotterer.
Well, Lotterer's not exactly a rabbit, is he? Because he was tearing the track up earlier on when he was battling against the Peugeots.
But the pressure that's building on him now, he's seeing his teammate go out and take this race by the scruff of the neck. He's sitting there. It must do something. Obviously, he's been trained. He's a highly paid Audi driver, but you know there's some pressure going on in there.
It's like the guy sitting in the cricket pavilion, isn't it? At the end of the test match, 5 hard days of batting and fielding and bowling, and you need 20 odd runs.
It's usually Monty Panesar sent out for that,
exactly.
Isn't it?
Exactly. You need 20 odd runs, and you're thinking, I don't actually want to go out. Don't get out, please. I'm quite happy not being the hero.
And John, when you leave the cabin, do not throw your bat through the window, please.
That was a glove, wasn't it?
Not me woodworm, I tell you, my woodworm's too good for that.
Yeah, someone's had enough. They're packing up already. They can't take the pressure. I mean, the spectators, as much as anyone, when I walked back across, I could not believe the stands below us.
Yeah.
All the standings completely full of people. People are absolutely transfixed by this race.
Mark, when I came in at 5 this morning, we still had to queue to get in.
Yep.
This is a monster crowd, and it's been a monster race.
This is a monster race, you're absolutely right. So we're expecting Bourdais to come in at the end of this lap. He goes round Mulsanne corner, and on board the Audi at the moment. Bourdais is 4.7 seconds ahead of him down the road.
So he's taken 3 seconds out of him since he's been out of the pits.
Yeah. I think he's got one more, actually, after this one. He'll come in when the lap counter shows 87, Mark.
Yeah, and that's the two Indianapolis sort of run kinks there, then into Indianapolis itself. This is where Rocky went off last night. Massive accident. How many Armco posts was it you said, John?
127 Armco sections were replaced by 8 guys in 2 hours.
Hence the 2 hours for the safety car.
I hope they're on, if they're on time and a half, that's, on a bonus.
Reinhold Just, a young 75 at the test weekend, and as you can see, he's got the perfect hairstyle.
Isn't there a bit of Just for Men in there?
You think?
I think he uses links. So we're waiting to see if John suspects Bourdais will not stop on this lap.
No, it'll be when the lap counter says 87. 287.
Right. Okay, so this will be 286 as they cross the line.
Fantastic shot of Benoit Trillet through the Porsche curves, committed as ever. Round the outside, you see the dirty side of the track.
Look, he's off. He's got dirt on the tyres, and that's dangerous on worn tyres, isn't it, Stu? But did you see there the difference? Remember when we saw the Peugeot do that? He had to get across really early before the left-hander, whereas Trillet was more confident with the car to stay in the middle of the road and turn in for the left.
But he's made that his line now, of course. We've seen this before from him.
The Benoit Trillet School of Driving is being written right now.
Line? What line?
Oh, and this part is so fast, you stand there. Here we go, here it is again, look at this. Talk us through it, Stuart.
Round the outside of the Oak Pescarolo. Go right round the outside, gets on the dirt, so he's on the dirt, he's on the wrong line on the way and gets a bit of a wiggle. But the good thing about that last left-hander now is there's a little bit of runoff. That normally used to be grass, but now there's a bit of tarmac runoff which saved him. Good lad, used all the road.
Good
Can't
stuff.
say anything else about that.
If you don't want a driver to use the road, don't put runoff there, put a brick wall there. That's the only way you stop drivers using the tarmac. Well, we've got just over 4 hours to go here at Le Mans, and we've got a race still, as we have had for the last 20. Stay with us here on Eurosport.
Back live on Eurosport. Mark Cole, John Hindhoff and Stuart Hall bring you live coverage of what's going to be the last 4 hours of the world's great race in just a few minutes. And as John said before we took the break, what a monster race. We're riding at the moment with a monster. This is the 73 Corvette. This is Antonio Garcia, who is running second in the GT Pro class. Giancarlo Fisichella, Formula 1 driver, 3 wins to his credit, who's made a new career here in sports car racing, leading that category. But we're all waiting now for Sébastien Bourdais to make what could be a seminal pit stop. This could win the race for Audi if they take suddenly Trillet makes that quantum leap into the lead.
Well, he's going to have that pit stop in hand, isn't he? Effectively, they're pretty much running on the same strategy now, and we've seen Audi, although not being able to get the fuel mileage, they've had the speed instead. And Wolfgang Ulrich telling us before the race that in this race, any one of the Audis, as the Kronos car, the 22 Lola Aston Martin, has had a little spin at the karting.
That car.
Now here is the second place car. I was going to see the leader, but it's not. So 287 he comes in on as expected, so that'll be 299 he's due in next time. Write that one down.
No, that is Bourdais.
Yeah, he said the second place car.
Yeah, he's now drops into second place because he was passed before he went across the line there as he came into the pit lane.
All this time, Benoit Trillet is off down the Mulsanne straight somewhere now.
Bye.
Yeah. So this is
330.5 for Trillet. That's okay. That's all right. And see, even on the in-lap, Stuart, Bourdais, remember on his in-lap, Trellier did a 3:37, and Bourdais
Very
did a
abreast
39.
down the Mulsanne.
my
He just went on to the
goodness
red to pass the 2 GT cars. He's in the slipstream of the of the Peugeot.
Yeah.
Now, this is interesting. He's come right up behind one of the other Peugeots.
Anthony Davidson won't.
And it is Anthony Davidson in the 7 now.
And Davidson again using the red on the outside of the circuit there. No respect for track limits.
Now, this is no problem here because the Audi doesn't have the pace down the tubes, down the fastest part of the circuit that the Peugeot has. But Davidson, I don't want to see any nonsense here.
He should be shown a blue flag.
Yeah, he's laps down. I'm all for it being a team game. Audi have played this card in the past. Peugeot did at the last race of the ILMC season in Zhuhai last year. And there's a drop of rain starting to fall on the pit lane here at Le Mans. It was forecast, and the rain that we have been expecting has arrived, to quote a movie.
Oh, yeah. This is going to really throw everything into the mixing pot, isn't it? Oh, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Now, I'm not going to be cynical, but Davidson, his last 2 laps were both 33s. We know he's got more than that in the car. Has he just been pulling back a little bit to let the Audi fall into his slipstream?
Well, they did it at Zhuhai at the end of last season. They backed a car up onto Christensen when he came out of his last pit stop, and that killed his chance of a victory.
Well, that was about as subtle as Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello, wasn't it, at Austria? So,
you know, I didn't have a problem with that so much. They made him take the position, but then you had the lap car hassling round the back of him, which is wrong. You know, once you've been past, let the guy go.
Frank Montagna then brings out the number 8 car, still in 3rd place, but Trillier's problem now is that they're going to Porsche curves, and he is behind Davidson. He's got more speed through the Porsche curves, but there's no way he's going to overtake a Peugeot going through.
Oh, it's difficult enough to overtake going through the Porsche curves. So
here they go.
Trying to overtake a Peugeot is going to be more or less impossible unless that makes a mistake.
3:30.5. It's not a disaster, guys. It's not a disaster.
No, 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 no. If he stays at that pace on those tyres,
it's not a disaster. I really think that. This is, you know, yes, I'm sure he wants to be by. Look at how much he gains in the early part of the Porsche curves, and now comes out. And now he's in position, and now Davidson will be getting blue flags, but Ant will not want to pull over. Well, he's not driving defensively, in fairness, Stuart. That's very, very fair from Ant.
No, it's being fair, but you know, that Peugeot has got a lot of grunt and is very, very slippery in a straight line. You just have to look how much the Audi gains through the corners.
Got to let him go now.
He's on the flasher now, and he's not going to.
No.
Not going to.
No, he's not going to let him.
Yeah, the Audi's going to come. Rain, rain, rain.
I told you. Here he comes up the inside. This is very dangerous. Davidson won't let him through. And that is the danger for Trellier. He wants to be by, but Davidson will not let him. Davidson will take him out rather than let him go by if he gets up alongside him.
Yeah, we've seen blue flags be raised. We've seen blue flags be
Ulrich
raised.
is going to do what he's done a couple of times in this race. He's going to have a warp over to somebody and say, blue flags, chaps. Yeah,
they'll get onto the email on the pit wall.
Yeah, that's where he's gone.
Straight onto race control.
Oh, he's got a great drag. He's had a fabulous run out of Terre Rouge, Trellier, and he's going to go to the right any second now. There he goes, and he's in position now. Davidson's got to give
but
this
he's pulled out of the slipstream, and the Peugeot's pulling away now. He's lost it, so he's having to get back into the slipstream. Shows you the slipperiness of the Peugeot.
Right, got him again.
He's on
he's there. He's
on
there.
the inside
On the
for the
brakes
corner.
now.
No.
Again.
Offline, braked offline. He was
31
slightly
last time.
slipperer.
Davidson's holding him up now. Oh, now.
Right.
Now. What do you reckon then, Stuart?
It could be a bit naughty. I mean, we're going to go and have a word with Giancarlo Fisichella now, but let's get back to that soon.
What was the problem now here at the pit stop? It took a bit longer and we saw some fluid coming out of the car.
We have a problem with the clutch, but that was not the biggest problem. The problem is an electrical problem with the engine. The engine is rough and the speed is 20 slower than other people. The car itself is very good, but unfortunately we have that problem. I don't know if we can go through to the end. It's tough, very tough. We'll see.
There are 4 hours left. How is the plan regularly for you guys? Are you going into the car?
We're gonna share the car one stint each because we got even some different problems. So we'll see.
Okay, last question. Taking into account that the car never did 24 hours, How satisfied are you at the point now?
Very good. We have the few problems since the night. It's not big problem, but small problems, and we lost a few minutes. We just hope to get to the end without any more trouble. But there is a question mark with the engine, you know, because it's very rough.
Thank you very much.
The number 8 Peugeot taking a trip for Frank Montani, not the preferred line through the Ford chicane. And look at this, 31.1 for Treluer last time around, 31 for Davidson. He's done a couple of 33s.
And it's cost him a second. He was 59 seconds out of Bourdais. It's dropped down to 58 now.
And remember, Ant is on brand new tyres, whereas Treluer is on tyres that are in their 5th. Count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stints. He's
no
there.
blue flag. No blue flag.
Where's the blue flag?
Didn't wave it.
Right,
Where's the blue flag? He's a lap
he was
down.
holding it and he didn't wave it.
It's a French car and they're French marshals. What do you expect?
He's 4 laps down.
Good man.
He's 4 laps down. This is, look, it's a team sport, I understand that, but this is now beyond a joke, and you would not get away with this anywhere else. Now, I don't subscribe to the, if you pass 4 blue flags, you get your tyres shot out by a sniper, like I think it's the new rule in Formula 1, isn't it? But really, now this is spoiling the race. As we go into the last 4 hours, that's your lot from me on Eurosport. I'll hand you back to Mark and to Stuart, and I'll be back on Radio Le Mans in a little while after I've gone and had a lie down in a darkened room and a rub down with halibut oil.
Well done.
Thank you for having me.
Well done, John. Thank you very much indeed. What a sterling effort by
See you in a bit, Hindy.
Sunderland's finest. So, Stuart, it's in our hands, our capable hands. Who are we going to get? Who are we going to help this win? Olivia Kennel then getting the message that your car is 4 laps down and is holding up this car. Where are the blue flags?
Well, I think there's been 1 or 2, but they haven't been waved consistently. As you can see, Trulier's catching him in the toe, but every time he goes to pull out, that Audi's not quick enough to go past. He's catching. Is Davidson going to breathe out the throttle and let him go? Let's see. No, he doesn't. He just brakes, turns in. Good teamwork here, you know. In one way, Ant's got to drive for his team, but in another way, you know, he shouldn't make it too hard for Trullier.
Yeah, but the only good news is the gap has between Trullier and Bourdais is back to 1 minute now, 1 minute exactly. So they did find some time there. Bourdais was 1.8 seconds slower on that last lap. So I think Bourdais may be holding himself up at the moment, but there is obviously some angst now in these pits. This is not on, and Liz Halliday's back with us. Liz, welcome home again. Liz and I on the very early start this morning, 6 o'clock shift. Gosh, that was early, wasn't it?
That was beautiful. I enjoyed it.
As we drove in from our chateau, our 4-bedroom farmhouse, 6 degrees we had on the temperature, and
very cold for Le Mans, isn't it? It feels almost like winter. And I was thinking this morning, God, this is definitely helping the tyres here, isn't it? This is why we can go for so long on a set of tyres.
We're talking about 5 stints, as you've probably heard on this, Stuart.
So you see in a straight line now, Ant has gapped Trullier. In a straight line, that Peugeot has driven away, but as we're going to see now, through Indianapolis, we think that the Audi with this more downforce on the car is going to catch the Peugeot. On our screens as well, is they are now saying officially there is drops of rain on the track. So is Benoit going to take it a little bit easy now? Well, from the way it's been going, from the way it's been going, I don't think so.
No, I sincerely doubt that. And drops of rain to these guys is not really a big deal. We start getting real rain, that's what gets tricky. And at Le Mans, it's such a long track that you can have portions of the circuit where it's actively raining and other parts that aren't at all. So that's where this circuit really becomes tricky.
And the other thing we're complaining about, Liz, is the lack of blue flags. Also, look at this, the Oak car not looking in his mirrors, moves over to pass that slower GT car, nearly puts Treluer off the road. Well, there is the good doctor.
So look how much Benoit's catch him just through the first part of the Porsche curves.
He's got
much faster is the Audi.
So much more downforce.
Look at it.
He's got so much more
taking chunks out of the Peugeot.
Yeah, he's got the pace through the Porsche curves. It's the Peugeot that have got the economy around the rest of the circuit. Again, he closes right up. Still no blue flags.
Later onto the brakes, catches Ant into the corner, carries more mid-corner speed, and gets on the throttle pilot. Again, more mid-corner speed, gets back on the throttle, and Ant, my bad, did get a very good exit there.
No, but it's still quicker than Bourdais, which is the good news. That gap is still just over 1 minute.
But surely, you know, I don't know I know we're saying they're not throwing the blue flags. Are the marshals aware that this is not a regular race for position?
Well, they should be told,
they should be told. I agree, but
they've got radios. They'll be told by the chief commissars.
But are they getting that right? Is more what I'm thinking.
But again, Benoit, after that slight amount of traffic around the Porsche curve, he's right back on the gearbox of Davidson now. They're coming up to Mulsanne, got a little bit of traffic. This could help him. If he gets on the power lead, Davidson might get a little bit bulked, but no, Davidson will have the power in the Peugeot. Benoit will probably cruise up behind him in the tow, go to pull out again,
look at this.
Have to pull back in.
Yeah.
Amazing.
He's actively blocking him, it looks like.
Yeah, it's just...
Absolutely actively blocking
He hasn't moved his line, he's just staying on one side of the road.
He might have to do a kamikaze dive into the PlayStation hairpin. No, it's not going to come across. I don't think so. I think Benoit's got it. No! Oh, chops his nose.
This is crazy.
Oh, I can't wait to hear the interviews after this race.
Dr. Ulrich is not looking like a happy bunny at all. Well, understandably. I'm surprised we haven't seen him make a little trip down the pit lane yet.
with his
That's going to be next in line.
12 ounces on.
Absolutely.
Well, the rain doesn't seem to have come that we expected. A few drops up at Dunlop, but that's all, and it's not enough to spoil the race at the moment. We're going to take a break here on Eurosport. Back for more fun in just a couple of minutes.
Welcome back to Eurosport. The fight continues at the front of this field. It is not stopped for the entire amount. Well, I was about to say, how many hours have we even been here? 22, nearly 20. Yeah, nearly 22 hours we've been going now, which is incredible. Or actually, sorry, 21. My math is horrible. It's been a long night.
I mean, some of us
it's a long time, anyway.
Some of us coming up to 36.
Yeah, all that matters is it's a long time.
9 o'clock yesterday morning in the warm-up, didn't we?
It's a lot, yeah, exactly. It's a long time, and the guys at the front of this field have been fighting like it's a 20-minute sprint race for the entire race so far. And we've been seeing a little bit of angry faces from Audi, haven't we, Mark? They're a bit unhappy that currently Benoit Trillier leading this race is being held up by someone who is quite a few laps down. Yeah,
Anthony Davidson's got the speed over the first 2 sectors of the circuit, but because he's got so much less downforce. But it's when they get to the Porsche curves where Benoit Trillier can really use that downforce with huge grip, but he can't because he's got this Peugeot blocking him all the time. So, team manager, car number 2 to report immediately to stewards.
I don't understand that.
Why that?
Why number 2?
Expecting
I'm not sure.
Number 9.
Exactly, that's what I would have expected.
So what is going on there?
Not happy faces.
I wonder. We heard a complaint earlier from Olivier Canal about this car going off the track limits.
Absolute rubbish.
A couple of hours ago, he said that.
Gonna get on my high horse.
Has he decided to start saying?
I agree, that's complete rubbish.
Make a whinge.
All cars are using all the track down at the chicane. Every single quick car is going all 4 wheels off. Peugeot,
every
Audi.
Peugeot.
Yeah.
There's no difference there at all.
Anyway, we're going down to speak to Nicolas Prost at Rebellion.
Nicolas Prost, you're just coming out of the car. How was it?
The first stint was really good. We had a very good pace, and we could keep up with the 2 cars who are fighting. We know we're a bit slower, but it was good. Then we had a very big problem with pickup. The tires went away. We already had the same problem before with Neil, so it changed a bit our strategy, but we're still in the hunt. The car is running strong, you know, so okay, we can still hope for 6th place.
Talking about strategy, 3 hours, 50 minutes to go. How is the plan from now on?
Well, I don't really know. It depends a lot. Now the weather is changing. We might know. I don't know. It's starting to drizzle a little bit. No problem. If rain comes in, it will change a lot, definitely. But, well, we have to adjust. We know we can't push so much more, you know. We can't catch the Pescarolo and the Oreca on pace, so we have to find something else. But we're still there, you know.
Okay, so thank you very much. Boyd is telling us how their progress is, and of course they're locked in that petrol battle with Pescarolo at the moment. Manu Collard on board with that car. So, team manager 2 again being told to report to stewards. So they'll take the long walk down to race control when they should be overlooking this battle, shouldn't they?
Let's get back to the racing now. Davidson has now put some gap between him and Trillier. Davidson's last lap was a 3:30.8. Trillier's last lap was a 3:32.6. Now, we're all aware that Davidson is on fresher tyres, Trillier is on tyres that are 5 stints old. Could they be starting to come to the end of their life? Most probably. The car is on his 5th stint, had a big full tank of fuel. We're just seeing now the replay of where Davidson chopped him going into the first chicane. Trullier had to anchor up to avoid that, and that wasn't a pass for position. He was just trying to unlap himself. So
really a bit unnecessary, isn't it? I think is where we're at here, and I'm really interested to see what the chat with the stewards is about for number 2 car, because I think we were all up here in the booth expecting the chat to be with the number 9 car. We're going to have to just see what's going on here.
Be interesting, won't it? I hope they don't ruin this race for everyone, because it's cracking.
Well, obviously at the moment we don't know what the call is for, and Dr. Ulrich on the radio there, presumably he's talking to who would be going down. Lena be going down? No, she's not the team manager.
I thought the man himself would go down.
Yeah, I thought so too. That's what I would have thought.
Well, Ralph Juttner is team manager officially.
Okay.
Well, then it'll probably be him, to be fair.
But
it wouldn't be Lena, she's the engineer, so she'd be staying there.
So anyway, that gap between Trullier and Bourdais, well, in fact, a second quicker on that last lap, Bourdais. Now this could be down to a slightly damp track, just easing off a bit. Everyone's suddenly starting to run 35, 34s throughout the field.
Good spot.
Well, we're getting really close to the end of this race now, really. There's no point in anyone taking an undue risk on a slippery surface with the slick tires when they don't need to. I think it's a matter of keeping it quick, but also just, you know, everybody being smart, making sure you look after it, because like we said before, at Le Mans you've got funny bits of the track where there's rain in some pieces and not in the others, and when it's this light rain you can't really see where the track is wet. It's very difficult to see that, so they've got to be careful not to just come piling in.
Is this why he's being called, Stuart?
Yeah, but you see, there's lots of cars doing that every single
Loads
lap.
Of cars have done that.
We've seen Davidson do that. We've seen Bourdais do that. We've seen Montagny do that.
And then what you normally get is a message here saying car number
respect
2
track limits or something.
Yeah, we haven't seen that. So this rain is starting to get a little bit damper now, if that's the right word. Dr. Ulrich going back over the road. So it's Trullier, Bourdais, 1 minute 67 seconds the gap now. So on that last lap, Trullier was 3 seconds quicker than Bourdais, despite being backed up behind Davidson, who was doing a 3:34. Looking further down, it's still Tom Kimber-Smith on board that Zytek. He's been on board that car ever since we came on this morning, I think.
No, Lombard and OJ have been in it.
All right, and so he's back again now.
I think he's only recently gotten back in within the last
and he's
hour.
just ahead of Soya Ayari and Christophe Bouchou, and it's still Tony Viander in that Ferrari leading. But as we heard Giancarlo Fisichella telling us, they've A, got a clutch problem, B, got an engine misfire, and they're not sure if they're going to make it to the end of the race. Be nothing new there if they can't get there, because all the GTs seem to be self-destructing.
Well, wouldn't that just be amazing for a Corvette, especially after the huge crash we saw earlier with Jan Magnussen and the Felbermayr Porsche? It would be great for at least one of the Corvettes to bring home the top step of the podium for them.
It's now academic, the point that Davidson's ahead, because he's not holding Benoit up now. That's Ant has got himself ahead, and he is lapping on average at the moment 1 second faster, but we're still waiting to hear why the number 2 car is being hauled up before the stewards.
So now Peugeot have a mild argument, the fact that Ant has actually pulled away from Benoit, because you know, you have to look at all angles, and whilst Benoit was all over Ant to start with, Ant's actually pulled away and he's got to run his race. So let's try and look at all angles, and from their point of view, if Benoit had overtaken Ant and then Ant stayed on his gearbox, they would have been stopping Ant unlap himself. So, you know, it's everyone's got a different point of view. It's, you know, the stewards have got a difficult job on their hands.
Oh yes. Now is the rain going to be the next enemy for everybody? We've seen the umbrellas going up around the circuit, parts of the circuit. Most of it's up at our end, isn't it? Up at the high part, Dunlop, and the top of the pits. But on the far side of the circuit, Mulsanne-Arnage, nothing.
I think we're just looking at the clouds. I think we're just going to get some funny bits of spitting and slightly damper pieces of the circuit without any real major rain.
So there we are. There is Benoit Trullier, hero of France, at the moment driving for Audi, not for Peugeot.
And he's got a Japanese flag next to his name as well.
Why not?
Slippery surface flag. So is there oil, or is it slightly? Is it raining?
Yeah, here we are. It's on the helicopter now as they come up.
Yeah, slippery track.
That's down the Mulsanne. That is heading up to the first chicane.
Great place to have a slippery track.
Especially turning into the first chicane. For some reason, the first chicane is phenomenally slippery.
It's very polished. Just on that entry, you can actually see the polished track there. And part of that's probably because it is a normal road a lot of the time. just as you come in, so you're getting a slight surface change, even though it doesn't look like a change of surface. It actually is, isn't it? Because we've got this portion of the track that's only ever used as the track, and then the rest is a real road.
Bourdais and Montagny, by the way, both running 39s, 38s, while our race leader's on 34s. Davidson's still on 32s and pulling away, so he's obviously very confident in the damper conditions.
One thing I did notice when we were last on board with Benoit Trillier, there is a slight mist of rain in the air, but his screen was covered in, as you can see it now, his screen is covered in flies and probably bits of oil. So if he does flick the wiper to try and get rid of some moisture if it ever comes, that's going to smear and it's going to be impossible to see out of. So not an issue at the moment, but could become an issue if it does rain a little bit more.
This is a really good point you've just made, Stuart, and it's one of the issues for drivers in the beginning of wet racing, is that especially in a 24-hour race, you've got all sorts of stuff all over the windscreen, little flicks of oil, bugs, all sorts of stuff, and it's very tempting when it just starts to spit with rain to run those wipers. But like you say, he could suddenly blind himself completely. So as a driver, you almost have to hold fire on that and think, right, I'm going to wait until the windscreen is actually wet enough that A, I can run the wipers and clear it, and B, that I can actually still see. So it is sort of being patient and sort of working with the conditions.
Yeah, see no sign of rain down that end of the circuit. It's quite cool out there still, and the wind is coming up a bit. We can see the flags on top of the pits first time this morning. Just saw the Robertson Ford GT going through our screens. There he is in the background. Andrea on board at the moment, so great to see that car still running. And Liz, I think we could well have a finish for them if things go their way.
Well, they're running in 4th place at the moment. They have been for a long time. You know, both Andrea and her husband a little bit off the pace, but hey, they're still there. They're still running, and that's a lot of the job, as we've seen, especially in this race. The
26 other cars on there,
high.
so yes.
So you know, they seem to be doing the job they can, and we're about to go for a break, but we'll be back with you very soon. Stay with us on Eurosport Live.
Back with Eurosport, and while you're away, Sébastien Bourdais has just swept into the lead of the race. Benoit Trillier, after 5 stints on the car, has come in, changed tyres, handed the car over to André Lotterer, and the race is on again.
Now, André was the man who, in those incredible times early on this morning, down to a 25, I believe he did, which was the absolute best time of the race so far. So interesting to see what we might have now. He's going to have to hunt down Sébastien Bourdais after that long stop, but we think he's going to be in the car till the finish now. They put new tires on the car, they fueled it. To me, there's no reason why he should get back out and risk having a driver change now.
And what a hero this man is. 5 stints. That must be a modern day record at this height of competition.
He looks fresh as a day.
Yes.
I've just gone and done 5 stints, been up for 36 hours, but you know.
Well, we've been saying that this year now with the new regulations and how things have been going, that the drivers are really having to prove their endurance as much as the cars.
Yeah, so when that car, number 2 car, came in, it had a lead of 1 minute 3 seconds, and behind him and now is 9.3 seconds back is Lotterer. Into the second of the chicanes, the Michelin chicane. And there's the gap. Lotterer will quickly get on the pace there. And it's not only this morning was he quick, last night he turned in some stunning laps before the Rockefeller accident slowed things.
Yeah, he's been impressive throughout this entire race, really. He's just settled into a pace that's not only quick, but consistent. And I think that's what the team orders have been for him, is get in and bang in the really quick times. And actually, we're going to go down to the pits and have a chat with Benoit Trillier, who's just done...
He's so fresh, he wants to talk to Eurosport.
Incredible, yeah.
Wonderful.
He's hanging out. He's ready to get back in again, I think. But yeah, very, very impressive stint we've seen from him. 5 stints in the race car. That's just incredible. And it certainly must have helped that we've had these cool conditions. That's definitely helped for these drivers that have had to do so much time with these new regulations.
And Jeremy Shaw, Pythagoras, rejoining us again. Pen and pencil in paper and pencil in hand. And how's it going?
You tell me. I think it's been fantastic. You tell me. I think it's absolutely been fantastic. You know, it's been a tremendous race all the way through. I've been away for a few hours now, but when I left at I don't know, 5:30 or so in the morning, there there are only 10 cars out of the race. I don't know what you guys have done in the interim, but I know that Jan Magnussen, that's one of the biggest shames, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because that car was absolutely running superbly. They got that early break in the race, but then they controlled the things from proceedings from there on. It wasn't necessarily the fastest car in GT, but it ran absolutely magnificently, and the driver was doing a fantastic job. And I guess there was an incident there in the Porsche curves.
Well, yeah, it was an unforced error.
It was in the kink, actually, coming out of the Porsche curves. It was in the kink.
Oh, really? As late as that, even?
And he bit too much out of a curb. It threw him across the road into Horst Feldmar Senior, into his Porsche, and took both cars off the road. And Horst Feldmar in hospital with concussion.
Oh,
but we're told nothing worse than that.
Boy, there's been some huge crashes in this race, hasn't there?
I mean, Le Mans Hospital. We're on again.
We know quadruple stints. Well, how do you call what you just did?
Cinquecento, I don't know. Cinquecento, I have no idea. But it was long. It was really long because they wake me up just before I jump in the car because of a safety car. So I had no time to go to the massage and eat something, and didn't eat last night after my stint because I was tired. I said, okay, I'm gonna eat when I will waking up. But I have no time, so just jump in the car. I'm so angry now. I want to have a nice breakfast.
What we see here is an epic battle. How nice was it to fight with your former teammate Simon Pagenaud out there?
So it was a great fight at the beginning. They were fair, but at the end, the car was a lap behind, didn't let me pass, and this is not fair. He had blue flag, he should have let me pass. So this is not fair, but we are used to that with Peugeot.
Last question, your teammate was called to the stewards. Do you know what's the matter?
Because when I was behind a Peugeot, sometimes I was losing downforce and I was getting out of the track maybe. So that's why they told me to try to stay in between the lines. That's the rules. And I tried to do as much as possible, but sometimes you have no choice, you know, when you are that speed and you lose suddenly downforce, you have big understeer, there is a green thing out of the corner, and sometimes you just lose the grip, and if you don't want to spin, you have to get out of the track. So I try to stay in the track and in between the line, but it's not always easy. So I try to do my best, and after they called me, and I did my best, and I keep gap, and it was okay.
Last question, Andre is staying until the end now?
Honestly, I have no clue about what's happened. I know we are leading, I know we have to push, so I will see that later.
Okay, thank you.
Well, some fighting words there from Benoit Trillier. He didn't really hide much, did he? He let us know exactly how he felt about the situation that he had on the track with Peugeot, and I think he said it all right there. This is definitely a battle between these two manufacturers, and he wasn't very happy about that. But what a machine in that car. Having not had enough rest, not eaten anything, gotten in 5 stints, and there he is smiling and giving us an interview and quite ready for a really good breakfast.
Well, Anthony Davidson in now. I don't think there's a change at the moment. Is no, staying on board that car, no tyres, or are they changing drivers? Did you see Ant get out? Or they just?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Just changing bottles and things like that.
Yeah, changing drinks bottles over.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to hear Anthony's take on that. I mean, from our perspective, Anthony was blocking him for a couple of laps, but who knows?
And Anthony himself was off the road several times, wasn't he? I haven't seen any notes to say the number 7 car being chief to be called to the stewards.
Do you know what I think's happened there? Personally, I think Peugeot's made a complaint about Audi going outside the lines quite a few times, and then the stewards started to have a look, and then they thought, oh, well, maybe we better listen. But at the same time, you know, Audi could have gone up and said, well, hang on a minute, they're blocking us, and you know, they're not in contention.
Well, we haven't heard any more about it. The message is gone now that the team managers reports, obviously they've sorted that out. And here is Andre Lotter, as quick as ever, straight out of the box, carrying massive speed through the Porsche curves again.
And closing in a little bit on Sebastian Bourdais last time around. I think he actually hauled him in just a fraction on the early part of his outlap. So really is going very, very quickly indeed, right out of the box. These guys in that number 2 car have been super consistent, have they not, all the way through? They've been really fast when they needed to. After the safety car this morning, after Rocky's huge crash, they were all together on the racetrack, and the number 2 car began to pull away and really showed its outright speed again.
Lotter has just done a 3 and 4 seconds out of Bourdais' lead. 5 seconds between the cars now. He must have a visual on the Peugeot ahead of him.
Well, I think what they're doing is doing exactly what we felt they were going to do. Team orders being, get in the car, push hard all the way to the finish. They did have a bit of a gap, but now that's been lost in that pit stop. So Andrew Lotter's just going to get in there and push as hard as he can. He was able to do that earlier. That was his team order earlier. Absolutely do the business, and I think he can do it for the next 3.5 hours personally.
And there is it, just that one Rebellion ahead on the road, and he can see him now as they head down for the first of the 2 chicanes on the Mulsanne.
Fresh tyres, even with a full tank of fuel, turning a 27.7. That really is quite remarkable at this stage in the game.
And a fresh driver. That's the other thing, of course.
Yeah.
After those 5 stints, wow.
And properly warmed up, unlike Brendan Trullier in the last round.
And the thing is that I think the Audi is that little bit more stable than the Peugeot, so they will be more comfortable doing those sort of times all the way to the finish without taking as many risks. And I do think that's going to help them now. And I'll be interested to see what sort of times we now see from the Peugeot drivers and how Anthony begins to, or Andrew Lotterer begins to close that gap.
Bourdais didn't appear to have it any much more than 3:31 in the car. He's been trying for several laps. He's not got below that, and I don't know if just isn't quite happy with the car in that configuration. But if Lotterer can run at 4 seconds faster, then it shows Bourdais hasn't got the perfect car under him.
Well, keeping in mind we did have a slightly damp surface in places. Now a car with less downforce is going to struggle more in that situation. We've seen the Peugeots that little bit looser, especially in different air situations and all of that, so that could be part of the issue.
Yeah, look at that, it's 5.1 seconds now. It's taken another 0.3 of a second out. Martin Pass there, Audi UK's press officer, motorsport press officer, just getting the word from Trullier.
And after 20.5 hours, that from first is the gap from first to second. Unbelievable, it really is.
This is how it's rock and rolled the whole way through the race, Jeremy.
Yeah, I didn't see what happened to the Alex Wirtz, I guess, was driving number 7 car. How long ago was that incident? Wirtz had an incident, right, and lost a couple of laps, obviously.
Probably about an hour now, hour and a half maybe.
And he was very apologetic, as well Jan Magnus and Alex Wirtz, I know, was very apologetic to his crew for having...
I think he just said he made a mistake. Really.
Understeered off the road into the tyre wall at Indianapolis.
Yep.
And it is difficult because at this stage in the game, you know, the drivers have done incredibly long stints. They're tired, the tyres are changing, the surface is changing, the track's getting dirtier. It is easy to make a mistake. Even the very best drivers in the world, we're saying, can make a mistake, which they aren't expecting to happen. But this is what 24-hour racing is. The surface is changing, everything's affecting.
And this rain's now moved down to Porsche curves. It's on the cameras down there now, having started off at the top of the hill at Dunlop.
I mean, I don't anticipate the damp that we're seeing being really an issue. I think it'll go away very quickly. It's literally just spitting, which you run a few cars over that and it will dry up very, very quickly. But at the same time, a car on the limit, like the Peugeots and the Audis are, they will feel a slight difference on these slick tyres.
Bourdais, huge bite out of the inside of the second part of Ford chicane there. I'd like to see that from a lower level. Looked like the car took off. He still did a 3:30, took a whole second out of his previous lap.
But Lotterer did a 28.1, so another couple of seconds there that Lotterer reduced that lead that Sebastian Bourdais had. And, you know, Mark Cole, it's what, 10 years ago, they wouldn't have been running this hard this far into the race, would they? I mean, you know, I think when I left at 5 o'clock this morning, there were 4 cars still on the lead lap in LMP1. There were about 5 cars within a lap or so of the lead in LMP2. There were 5 cars again on the lead lap in GTE Professional, and also 4 cars on the lead lap in GTE Amateur. I mean, unbelievable the level of competition that far into the race.
Even 6-7 years ago, I don't think we would have seen it like this. And I mean,
we've never seen it before.
No, I mean,
in
they're
all
just
4 classes.
No, they're just monstering the curbs. I mean, I remember, you know, that used to be the rule. Oh, don't use the curbs, don't this. They're driving this like a sprint race.
Yes, they are.
And we're 20. It looks like it's like a touring car race out there, isn't it? It's insane.
Lotterer's virtually caught him now. 1.7 seconds was the gap just before they came to the chicane, and you can see how much quicker Lotterer was exiting that. Okay, the Peugeot's got the less drag for the moment on the straight, but as soon as we get through Mulsanne, that run up to Indianapolis is going to close that right up.
Slightly more worn tyres, of course, on the Peugeot at this stage. I don't know when that last made a pit stop, but generally speaking, the number 7 and the number 9 cars have been pretty much on the same schedule. Of course, that would have been put out with Alex Wirtz's crash, as you said, there's about an hour or so ago. But what the drivers do have to be careful of, though, is not to push the tyres too hard, too early in their running time.
Well, that cost Andre, didn't it? Probably a second when he got behind that Ferrari, and just Ferrari went the way he didn't expect. Here we are. Look at this again. Watch the Ferrari. He goes to the outside, so does the Ferrari. Ferrari probably doing the right, thinks he's doing the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, that was the run down to Mulsanne corner, I think, which, and to be fair, these GT cars, they're pushing really hard as well, and the laws of physics do apply to them also. They do need to allow the car to exit the corner.
Yeah, the good doctor's not impressed there, was he? But
do you know what? I think the Ferrari did the right thing. He was on his line.
Yeah, no.
I think he was just a little bit too keen, trying to pass him too early, that's what sports car driving is. You've got to look after
the gap back to 2 seconds now, 2.028 to be precise. Oh, what a great race we've got in our hands. And we've still got 3 Grand Prix to go almost.
Yeah, and I completely agree with Liz there. The drivers are told in the briefing, you know, if the GT drivers in particular, told to stay to their racing line, and the quicker cars will find their way past. You know, there's certain exceptions to that rule, obviously, depending on where you are on the racetrack, but generally speaking, that is what the GT drivers are told.
3 hours and 25 minutes still to go, and this is the lead battle, just 0.2 of a second, a moment to go between the lead Peugeot and the second placed Audi. And what a race we've got in our hands here.
This is absolutely incredible. This is the race for first place right now. We only have 3 hours and 25 minutes left in this 24-hour race, and we have a battle on our hands for the lead.
So what we're actually looking at, is what happened just a moment ago as they came up to Porsche curves. We're just on very slightly delayed pitches, they're telling us, but no, they seem to have caught up themselves now. So that was a moment ago, but through Porsche curves, both cars got momentarily held up, and suddenly, Lotterer was right with Bourdais.
Just coming up on traffic now. This is going to be the tricky bit because they are having such a battle between themselves. They've got to now look out for the traffic that's within the circuit, because the rest of the traffic's having their own race as well. But it's going to come down to that, I think, when they can, you know, mix it up, is who can manage the traffic the best.
So down through the Mulsanne King, then into Mulsanne. We're into the Indianapolis, aren't we? I've got
Indy
behind
down to
myself
Arnage.
there. Yeah. Now this is where Lotterer needs to get tucked in right behind Bourdais. It may not be able to do anything in the Porsche curves, but if he can get a slingshot through there as they come out of the Porsche curves, try and grab him before they get down to the Ford chicane.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's no real worry for Lotterer at the moment. I think Bourdais, I presume, owes us a pit stop fairly soon.
Yep.
Where is he on his driver rotation? Has he been in that car for quite a while, or are they due to change drivers fairly soon, do you know?
He's been in for a pretty long time. He's been in for a while,
So I would think, yeah, we
I think
reckon
we'll see a driver change there in tyres and everything.
So it's quite conceivable from here that Lotterer may be able to get to the end of the race. It'll be a very, very long stint. It'll be not far short of 4 hours. That's probably a fairly major ask at this time of the proceedings, because, you know, now's the time you want to make sure you don't make any mistakes. That's the key factor here. You know, fatigue is certainly setting in. Oh, here is Bourdais into the pits right now. Well, so that will move the number 2 car of Andre Lotterer back into the lead of this race. I wonder how many lead changes there have been. Wow. Astonishing.
Oh my gosh,
number.
It'd be interesting to see, wouldn't it? It's just been incredible.
I'm sure between you and John Hindhaugh and Paul Trustwell, you could come up with a figure. It's going to take about a week to sort out. So we're going down to. Did they say Marcel Fassler?
With number 2 driver.
Yeah.
Marcel Fassler, are you going back into the car? We just saw Andre Lotterer climbing in. We saw Benoit doing 5 stints. Is that the plan for the end of the race?
Yeah, the maximum driving time from a driver is 4 hours, and we don't want to lose any time now by changing and pit stop. So we go full attack and we try to win this race.
How hard is it for a driver not to get into the car in such a moment of the race?
Yeah, you know, we are a team, and we win together, we lose together, we share things together. So this is, no, for me, it's not a problem, because I was driving quite a lot at night and the morning, and Andre did not so much. So now he's also the right guy now in the car.
Since 2003, no car from pole position won. How good is the number 2 car running at the moment?
We are really fine. The car is really in a brilliant shape. We have no problems. Aerodynamic and mechanic side is running just like it have to run, and it's still capable. It's still possible to fight.
And from the pit stop point of view, Do you have a disadvantage because you do 10 laps per stint? And how close can the Peugeot get?
I think we did 11 and Peugeot can do 12. Yeah, sure, this is a bit of disadvantage. That's the why we have to run fast on track. And but I don't know now for the race or for the last hours if this still be an issue or not. I think it depends who has to make a splash and dash in the end or not. And I really hope it's not us.
Okay, thank you very much.
Jeremy, good call there that they will leave Lotter in the car, as you guessed. Marcel, very magnanimous there. I've done my stint, you know, let's him. But interesting that Audi says there's absolutely nothing wrong with the car. Most other people we talk to always say, oh, well, there's this or that or the other.
Yeah, and that's the great thing. We talked about teamwork and the fact these guys are really positive attitude. And we talked about earlier on in the race, you know, Sebastian Bourdais, great driver that he is. And, you know, when it comes down to it, he's a team player, but there's always something negative about him. And that tends to rub off on the entire team if you're not careful. I think that's one of the reasons he didn't last as long as he probably should have done in Formula One. But, you know, but with the Marcel Fessler there and the entire Audi camp, they're team players, everything is good, everything is positive until something goes wrong. Brilliant, that's the way you build a team.
Well, I think that's absolutely essential in sports car racing, especially in 24-hour racing. You have to work with your team, you have to be trusting of your teammates, and you have to feel good about the whole situation. You have to work well with your engineers, with everybody involved, because it really is a team playing job. You cannot, there's no I in team, I hate to say, but certainly in sports car racing, it's impossible to win the race with one driver alone. It's got to be a team effort, and it's nice to see him saying there that he's absolutely fine not getting back in the car, that they're all working together to win the race. They've all had their piece in that puzzle. He's done his bit through the night, and now they're just focusing on the win.
Right, we've got some news here from dailysportscar.com about the Jan Magnussen Horsfeld Mama Senior incident. Jan told them that he took the curb hard to get the correct line to pass and felt something break at the rear of the car, and that's what caused that massive two-car shunt there. So we kept saying this isn't something that Jan does, is it?
I mean, I had been saying I thought perhaps something had broken in the car, because it was the way the rear lost was so extreme that it just couldn't be possible in that sort of kink. It wasn't like he'd had a big corner to come through or anything. It almost looked like either something had broken or he'd hit oil almost. So that explains a lot, because it's not the sort of incident we would see from Jan. Such a fantastic top driver, and like I say, the way the rear of the car went, it was so extreme that you know, it's I mean, it doesn't make the accident any better, but at least we have a reason.
All the factory cars are taking hard hits today, and amongst those Lotus, they lost one of their cars. Where were we? There's a vibration.
I think it was.
Yeah, but Claudio Barro of Lotus saying that finishing has always been our target. We've still got a car running, and we're able to push within carefully set limits for this race. So all you Lotus fans out there, and I know there's at least a million of you, judging by the cars coming down to Le Mans here, that car is running in 25th at the moment, and James Rossiter is at the wheel. So a great British success story there after the huge disappointment of Aston Martin.
Boy, yeah. You're absolutely right on that score. The only good news for Aston Martin is that the number 22 car had a relatively minor early delay, but is running still now in the top 10. Must have had another delay actually during the morning, I guess, because it's now 10 laps behind the Duran Blakemole car, so it's obviously lost a few more laps, but still running very, very nicely for that Kronos Racing team. Yeah,
Vanina Rick's on board that car at the moment, as you say, in 9th place. It may be last to the P1 runners, but there's only three petrol runners in that class. So,
but you know, what's interesting is we've not seen a lot of them this race, and I think that's because they've not done a lot of things wrong. They've sort of been ticking along and quietly just banging in the lap times and being consistent. Sometimes not seeing the car on track on the TV is actually a good thing, because it means they're not doing anything that exciting.
Yeah, not doing anything wrong.
Nothing that we need to see to make the crowd go wow.
And same with GT. We haven't seen a lot of the GT cars during this race, but it has been a fabulous battle going on. It is the number 51 car, of course, Ferrari, with Tony Vilander at the wheel at the moment. He still leads, but since over the last 20 minutes or so, to Antonio Garcia in the number 73 Corvette has clipped about 10 seconds off the lead of Tony Vilander, and he's only a minute and 14 seconds behind. So again, a great battle still unfolding in GT.
And I've been watching Antonio for the last few minutes, chipping away at that time. He's pulling about 3 to 4 seconds a lap Tony Vilander. And we also heard that there might be a problem there with that car, didn't we, with the Ferrari? So let's wait and see what happens there. Antonio, I drove with Antonio a few years ago, one of the finest GT drivers I've ever shared a car with. Absolutely fantastic. So he's going to be doing everything he can in that Corvette, and I think it's going to come down to the pit stops. What's going to happen when Tony's got a pit and Antonio? We may see that chop and change a bit.
You're right, and as with the battle for the overall lead, the fuel strategies of the Chevrolet and the Ferrari a little bit different. The Ferrari certainly going at least a lap or so longer on each fuel stint than the Chevrolet.
And we've just passed the 300 lap mark. Anyway, we are going to change channels. Do stay with us live on Eurosport. Just go down to the other channel. We'll be back on that in a minute after that break. So see you in a moment.